Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. As you may have realized by now, we are getting a lot of news for Rise of Iron. One of the more interesting tidbits and probably one of the biggest additions to the game is the reinvention of artifacts. Artifacts now significantly change up your playstyle, and there is one artifact for each of the Iron Lords. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the new artifacts and the new abilities that they give your Guardians. But we're not going to stop there. If we take a closer look between the lines, can we start to uncover a serious conspiracy between the Iron Lords? Let's jump in and find out. So essentially, to give you guys a quick overview on how the new artifacts work, they essentially are collected by a vendor in the new social space. As you can see in this screenshot from the latest Game Informer video, that vendor is a Cryptarch, and her name is Tira Karn. Except this Cryptarch also provides you Iron Lord artifacts in exchange for a new item called Iron Lord's Legacy. You can expect this item to be very similar to the weapon and armor cores in Year 1, and you will be granted one a week by completing special activities. Once you receive this item, you can go back to the Cryptarch Tira Karn to claim one of 3 artifacts offered that week. Once you obtain the artifact of choice, you then head to the top of Fellwinter Peak in a special room where you can imbue the power of that artifact in front of the statue of the matching Iron Lord. It seems like these are the endgame rituals that they were referring to previously. So what's so special about these artifacts, and how did they change the game? Well, when artifacts were first introduced in the Taken King, they weren't terribly interesting. The only thing they really do is giving you a small chance of dropping an orb of light if you perform a very specific kind of kill. Not terribly useful. Well, it turns out in Rise of Iron, artifacts are getting a lot more love. This time around, they give your Guardian special abilities. So let's take a look at those artifacts and what they do exactly. The first one is Memory of Radagast. It adds a new ability for your sword, which lets you now reflect projectiles, including Ogre Blasts and Crucible Rockets. I can't wait to try this out on an Ogre and blast his laser back into his own stupid face. Next up is Memory of Perun. This one adds the ability to highlight Guardians with a full super in yellow and Guardians with low health in red. This will no doubt be very useful in the Crucible, but I hope there's also some PvE implementation. Next up is Memory of Yolder, which removes your sprint cooldown. Right now, as you might notice, if you sprint and stop, you have about a 2-second cooldown before you can sprint again. This artifact eliminates that cooldown, letting you continue sprinting immediately. Next up is Memory of Silmar, which dramatically reduces any damage received by damage over time effects, such as Burn or Thorn's Poison. So if you're one of those that's going to be cowering in the corner once the Thorn comes back into the Crucible, all you need to do is equip your Memory of Silmar, and you'll be a brave Guardian yet again. Next is probably going to be the most significant change, which is with the Memory of Fellwinter. With this artifact, you'll lose your super, but gain an extra grenade and melee charge, as well as a boost to all of your stats. I'll be curious to see if the stat boost is anywhere as significant as it was with the Broken Heart buff from the Crimson Doubles limited event. Next is Memory of Gellion. Gain detailed radar at all times, including when aiming a primary weapon, essentially giving you Keen Scout and Third Eye. The final 2 we know about are going to be the most interesting to talk about over the next couple months, and that starts with the Memory of Scory, which speeds up super recharge for all nearby allies, and the Memory of Timur, which lets you melee an enemy for a chance to make them an ally for a short time, making them attack confused foes. These last couple are really interesting because they start to introduce some deeper RPG-like mechanics in the game, and also start to explore party roles. The roles I'm referring to in other RPGs that you might be familiar with are things like healers, tanks, and damage dealers. I'm really anxious to see how this evolves over time, and it's probably why it's my favorite addition to Rise of Iron. Now, what we just went over were 8 of the artifacts that are coming in the game, each representing one of the Iron Lords. But you might have been able to surmise, especially if you had a full Iron Banner weapon set from Year 1, that we're missing a couple Iron Lords. In fact, the Game Informer article does point out these missing Iron Lords, and that Bungie is keeping it a mystery for now. The first Iron Lord which is missing from the artifact collection is, well, Lord Saladin. We don't need to memorialize him with a statue or artifact because, well, he's alive. He is of course the last remaining Iron Lord, protecting the city and watching over Siva in case it ever breaks out. But there's still one more Iron Lord that we haven't talked about yet. And if you still have your Year 1 sniper rifle in her name, you know that Aphrodite is missing from the artifact list. Game Informer did tell us that Aphrodite does not have a statue in the Iron Temple, and it is entirely possible that she is still a surviving member of the Iron Lords. Now we are going to get into some plot speculation here, so before you don your tinfoil hats, do remember that this might serve as spoilers in case it's true. So if you don't want to be possibly spoiled by this, go ahead and click away now. This is pretty much how I'm going to wrap up the video. So before I get into it, let me know what you think of the artifacts, and do you think it's going to have a huge impact on the game? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Now let's move on to my theory. So during the Cosmodrome reveal stream a couple weeks ago, one of the Bungie developers giving us a tour gave us a little hint that the Iron Lords might have been trying to start a second Golden Age. I speculated in that video that in an attempt to bring upon us a second Golden Age, the Iron Lords unleashed Siva in the first place. Things probably got out of control, some people probably died, and a lot of evil things happened. Then I think realizing their mistake, they swore to secrecy and decided to sacrifice themselves to seal off Siva for good. Then we jump forward to now, and Lord Saladin, knowing this truth, is burdened with the responsibility of protecting the city. I think he feels the guilt of what they did, and he has to deal with it on a daily basis. So based on this, we can see that the story of Rise of Iron is a lot more complex than Bungie is leading on. And now with this new information of Aphrodite, this is getting very interesting. Another piece of information supporting my theory that I want to touch on is the new information that we have of the new raid, Wrath of the Machine. In the information we got from Game Informer, it seems like Wrath of the Machine is a continuation of the main Destiny story. This is a very interesting statement. Does that mean that it has nothing to do with Rise of Iron or Siva? Or does it mean that the Rise of Iron and Siva play a much more important role in the grand scheme of Destiny than we might realize? So essentially all of my theories are based on the fact that Aphrodite has escaped the clutches of Siva. She might have at one point intended to sacrifice herself just like her other brothers and sisters, but then somehow got away. Was this good luck, or did she sell her soul to the devil? So is it possible that in the raid we're going to be encountering a Siva-infused Aphrodite? Kind of a wild idea, but not so crazy once you start to think about it. There is no statue of her in the Iron Temple, and Lord Saladin isn't mentioning her, so she's a topic he would rather keep buried, like a black sheep in the family. Another possibility is that she might emerge at a very convenient moment as an ally to our efforts. Either way, you can bet she's going to play a big part in the story of Rise of Iron, and she is of some kind of significance to Lord Saladin. Anyways, we're learning more and more every day, and we have another article coming out tomorrow. It seems like there's going to be new information on a daily basis leading up to launch. It is absolutely insane, and I'm going to do my best to try to keep up with all of this news. So drop a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more Destiny content. And I will see you all next time. As the new Kvostov 7G0X is one of the new exotic weapons coming in Rise of Iron. And that's not even the most exciting part.